Welcome back to Simrite Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful bustier blouse with yoke and flounce ruffles, as you can see on the thumbnail. So here you can see how beautiful this dress is actually looking. So this is what it looks at the front, as you are seeing right here. So later I'm going to bead all of this area. I'm going to bead everything and give it a glossy or lush look. So here is the back, and this is what the back looks like with its zipper, as you can see right there. Can you see that? So it's a V neckline at the back and beautiful ruffles. So it's actually a full blouse, as you can see right here. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. Thank you. So we want to start off this tutorial. So the first thing is to determine the neckline 4.5. That's what I'm using by 4.5 depth. So that is the round neck I'm using. So here is the shoulder. This is the chest line, bust point, under bust point, waist, and the full length of this blouse. So we are making a full blouse. So these are the measurements I took earlier. My chest line is 9.9575, bust point 13, 17 is my under bust, 18 is my waist, and 27 is the full length of this blouse. So I've already imputed my bust dart of 2 inches because the difference is 2 inches from my waistline for the back length. So the first thing we want to do now is I've divided my natural neckline into 2. This is the midline. I connected it to the bust point. So first we are going to determine the yoke line. So the yoke line, I'm using 7.5 for my yoke line. Another way you can determine this yoke line is to take the measurement of your bust point. That is your bust radius, 4 inches. So you can take the bust radius all around to be sure that you are not going to expose anything on the sleeve area. So you can see from these 4 inches I have about, okay, I would like to have about 1.5. So this is it. So that is 1.5. So I can just go ahead and do this. I can just go ahead and use let me use 7.25. Okay, I'll use 7.25 instead of 7.5, so that the bust area covers well for me. Okay, so now I'll come down by 1 inch from that line. Just come down by 1 inch to create the neckline. Then before I create the neckline, I love to always create the over bust. So the over bust, I'll place my tape here and measure 0.75, 0.75. So place your ruler from there to that point and flip it from there to this point. So that is my bust, over bust there. So from here you can now go ahead and connect your neckline. I just want to have a little shallow neckline like this. So you can see the neckline. So I want the neckline to extend out of the armhole. So that means I'm going to replace my darts of 1.5. I'll come here and replace my dart at 1.5. Once I do that, I'm going to reconnect that to my I will connect it to the armhole like this. So everything runs straight. Okay, so once I join it, it will just run straight and curve in. So that's how I want it. So it's all your choice. You can also make a sweetheart here if you want, or we'll leave it like this. So here is my yoke, and now we'll go. So after that, the next thing is to come over to the underbust. The underbust I'm working with is 37. Divided by 4 is 9.25. So from here, I'm going to measure the 9.25, and I have about 1.5 remaining. So I'll just go ahead and impute 1.75. I'll impute 0.25, and I will impute the rest of 1.5 here. So that's what I will use to contour the curve. So I'll just go ahead and contour. So just place your ruler this way. Make sure you keep it straight up like this. So just keep it up from that point and connect. So after that, you just go ahead and connect it straight. It will go straight into that like this. So all of this, we are going to remove them. All of this shaded area is going to go out to form the dart on the bust area, and this on the over bust area. So we are going to cut it out. So that is all for this. So the next thing we want to do now, we are going to shaping the down part. This is the center front. So for the center front, I'm going to create a design for it right here. So to finish up this what we are doing right here, I'm going to shaping the length of this blouse. So to shaping the length of this blouse, we are going to come up by 1 inch. That's the shape we want to give. I'll come up by 1 inch, and then I'll come up from this end by 2 inches. Come up by 1 inch and come by 2 inches. Find the midpoint. Just place your tape like this and find the midpoint. So from that midpoint, come up again by 1 inch and mark. So we are going to connect this to this using this part of the ruler like this. So you can create any design of your choice anyway. Then we came up by 1 inch. Then from there, I'm going to place my pattern ruler from there. Okay. So you can see the shape that we gave right there. Okay. So that is the length of this blouse. That is the shape we want to give for this blouse right here. So we are done. The next we are going to do now is to cut the pattern. So we are done with the front pattern now. So we are going to go over to the back. Here is the back, and I've already drafted the back. So my dart here is 1 inch. Everything remains the same. I replaced my dart right here. The waistline is 39. Divided by 4 is 9.75. I added 1 inch. That is my dart replacement. So the next thing we want to do is to contour this back. So to contour the back, just come in from here by 1 inch. Okay. So that is for a plus size. For a normal size, you can use 0.75. Then place your ruler the way I am placing it, this way, and connect it from there to the hip line. So the length of the back is shorter by 2 inches. Okay, so my chest line remains the same, 9.75. Back length instead of 18 is 16. Length of blouse instead of 27 is 25. So I come up by 2 inches because of the bust dart technique. So once you have contoured the line, ensure you replace that contour line. So this is my replacement. So what I will do, I'll come over to the chest line and take the bust measurement again, divide by 4, which is 11. Place my tape here, take my measurement again, waist circumference divide by 4 plus 1 inch for the dart replacement. So on the hip line, the measurement remains the same. So I did on the hip line for the front and for the back. Your hip divide by 4 plus 1 inch, so that that part will be free. The hip side will be free for you. So I'll go ahead and reconnect what I have. Just go ahead and reconnect the replacement of the contour line. So you can connect it straight like this. So you can see the replacement right there. So that is how it's going to look like. So next we'll come over to the neckline. So for the neckline, I'm going to make use of neck depth of 8 inches. And this 8 inches, this is the mid armhole. I'm going to come down from the mid armhole by ½ inch. Then I'll connect from that to this. That is the kind of back neckline I want to create. So for the neck width, I use them 4.5 for the front. So I'll use the same thing I used. So I'm going to connect this. So I love to come out a little bit from the line by ½ inch before I go ahead and do what? And connect. So I'll just go ahead and connect this. So this is my yoke line. And then I'm going to extend my dart leg to touch the yoke line, because we are going to split the back apart. So this is it, and I'll call this B1, I'll call this B2. So the back is ready. We are going to cut. But remember that we came up on the side for the front by 2 inches. So don't forget to come up by 2 inches so that it matches accordingly. Then we are going to also do the same we did for the front by finding the midpoint, or finding the midpoint, and then from the midpoint you come up by 1 inch. Okay, so we are going to place our pattern ruler this way. From these 2 inches we'll come this way, and then we'll also connect this back. So it depends on the shape you actually want to give at this point. So I'll just do the same thing for back and front. So we can now go ahead and cut the pattern. So I've cut out my patterns. As you can see, I added 2 inches on the side of my pattern, and I added ½ inch all over. This is on fold. Like I said, is the center front is on fold. I made notch on the under bust area to sew on this part. So here is my zipper line at 1 inch and ½ inch to join this and this. And this is the 2 inches for the side seam, ½ inch all around. So I'm going to, I made 4 for lining and fabric. I have 4 pieces here. Fabric is 2, lining is 2. Same with these 4 pieces. So I'll set the back aside. We are going to work on the front. for the front panel is 2 pieces on fold, and this is 4 pieces. So we want to create the bustier right now. So this is how I like to create my bustier. This is my under bust, and this is the under bust point. So I'll just go ahead and take the difference of what I have here. From bust point to under bust is 4 inches. I'll place it here, and I'm going to mark my 4 inches. So you see how I rotate it. So once I've gotten this, I'll just go ahead and follow the shape of what I have on the neckline. Okay, just follow the shape accordingly. So that is how I create this one. So now for this, I'll also take, this is bust point, and I'll measure my bust point to under bust, which is 4 inches. So this is my 4 inches. I'm going to rotate the 4 inches like this. I'll keep rotating it 4 inches like this, like that. So I'll just draw out the shape of my bustier. So here is up, and here is the down piece. So that is what I'm going to use to sew the cup area. So the measurement I have from here to here is 4 inches, as you can see. So, and that is the same thing I have here. So now I'm going to cut out this. We'll use it to pad, to cut out the wording. So I'll take off my pattern, and I'm going to cut out this. Then this, I'll cut it out from the under bust and cut it out from that neckline part. So this is the shape I'm going to have. So I'll go ahead and use this. This is what I'm going to use to pad my my dress. So I'll first cut the wording now. Note that we have this part on fold. Note that it's going to be on fold. So let me quickly do that. Alright, so here is my wording. I've cut it out, and I made a mark on the upper part on the rough side. So this is the sticky part of it, as you can see. So I'll come in with the main fabric, because we are sticking this on the main fabric. So this is the main fabric, which is the velvet fabric. So I'll go ahead and take up the pattern, the pins from the pattern, and I'll place the sticky part. Here is the sticky part. I'll go ahead and place it here. And secure with my pin like this. So I'm going to use another hairstay to stay it now. I use hairstay to stay all of this, as you can see. Then for these other parts, I'll also repeat the same process. I'll keep the lining and place the wording. So I'll pick it up this way. So I have my notch and I have my marking. So this is the sticky part. I'll place it accordingly. And I'm going over to the machine now. We use my hairstay to iron it again. Let me do. You can see I've stayed it. So I've placed it on another hairstay to make it. I've used another hairstay to make it firm. So that is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join the bustier. Okay, so I'm going to secure it on the under bust and start sewing from the hem. I'll do the same, hold it at the under bust and sew all the way. Then for the lining, I am not staying any putting any wadding on the lining, so I'll just go ahead and also stitch the lining accordingly. So I will sew and I will iron the bustier, then we'll start sewing the yoke. Alright, so now I'm done. The bustier is ready. So this is the bustier for the dress and this is the lining for it. So I'm going to set it aside and we'll start to work on the back dress. So here is the back dress and then we are going to stitch them the way they are at 1/2 inch, join them together. The zipper line is here. So I'll quickly take off my patterns. So once I take off my patterns, then I'm going to join them together one after the other. So I'll pick them the way they are, like this. So I'll go and pick them one after the other the way they are, and I'll sew from here to here at 1/2 inch. I'll do that for the rest of them. I'll pick them this way like that and stitch. The front and the back is ready, so I'm going to start sewing their yoke right away. So here is the yoke and I'm going to cut it out. So I'll use my tool to cut it out. So I'll cut it out, then I'm going to add my seam allowances and stitch it all around. Let me do that. So now I'm going to stitch at 1/2 inch the yoke. Okay, so I'll quickly open it up and then spread the yoke open this way. So I'm going to sew the neckline right away. Let me do that. So after sewing the yoke, please reduce the seams so you have a neat finishing at the end of the day. So my yoke, they are ready. I've prepared all of them. So I'm going to sew this to the men dress. So I'll just go ahead and place this and stitch. Okay, so just place it at the center and stitch to the end and do the same to the end. So after sewing the yoke, I would like to make some notches to relax the yoke. So just go ahead and make tiny notches. So after that, we are going to place the yoke like this and sew this. We are sewing this on top of it and we are going to top stitch. Let me do that. Alright, so here you can see I've fixed the yoke and I've top stitched it on the lining. So I'm going to give it a good press. Next, I'm going to sew this yoke, the back yoke. I'm going to sew it from the beginning here. Remember we gave about 1/2 inch, so you should have 1.5 inch here. So I'll sew and turn it with lining and top stitch. I'm done sewing the yoke. So I've placed it right side to right side because I want to finish up the neckline. So I'll just go ahead and pick up this, match it up like this, open up here. So that's how I'm going to sew the neckline. So I'll just open here and flip it this way. I'll go over to the machine, I'll run my stitches at 1/2 inch, then reduce the seam like I did on the neckline. So we are done joining. As you can see, everything on the lining for the back is ready. But before we close up the sides, we are going to sew the flounce. So here I'm making my flounce. Of course, you have to make a circle of 2 inches. Then I'm using a 6 inches for my flounce. So you just create a 6 line on the cardinal points and start marking 6 inches all around. So initially I wanted to make use of 5 inches, but I noticed it was too small for what I wanted to do after sewing 1/2 inch. So I decided to increase the width of my flounce to 6 inches. So now I'm creating the circle flounce. So I have a detailed video on how to make a perfect flounce on this channel, so you can go to the channel and watch how to make flounce. So I'm just creating the circle all around, and I'm going to add my pepper for the full circle. So here I've made my full circle flounce. So I stopped it at that point, and now I'm going to cut it out. So I made it as much as possible because these ruffles I'm going to also pleat them in. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you how many inches of this flounce you're expected to make. So I'm creating this on paper because my fabric is too soft. I'm using a velvet fabric and Isiago fabric, so they are really too soft to create the flounce on top of it. But if you are using Ankara, you can go ahead and do that. So you can see how long my flounce is, but I'm not going to use all of them. I'm going to take the measurement from the inner circle right now all around to determine the exact measurement. So I'm using 40 inches. So just go ahead and measure around the circle. From the circle, as you can see me taking the measurement now, I'm taking it all around the part I'm going to stitch on the dress. So I'm using 40 inches. So go ahead and mark 40 inches or 45 inches or 60 inches. In fact, I use 60 inches so I don't run out short of flounce. So just measure 60 inches from the inner circle and cut off the rest of it. So here my flounce is ready. So next is to bring the fabric. So I brought my velvet fabric and I place it on fold of 4. So I'm using 3 yards here. So these 3 yards I place it on fold of 4, and I'm going to cut exactly the shape of the flounce because I've already added my seam allowances on the paper, so there won't be any need to add any seam allowance. So you can see me cutting around the flounce. So I'll keep cutting round it till I get to the center circle. So once I get to the center circle right now, I'll quietly cut out the center circle. Of course, when cutting flounces, as you are cutting, it keeps going till you get to that 2 inches circle which you use to start off the flounce. So now, once I get there, I will go ahead and cut round the circle. So this is how I did that for the velvet. So I'm going to repeat the same thing too. The same process, I'm going to do that for the Isiago too, because I want to have 2 pleatings of that flounce. So I'm going to, this is what I have for my velvet. So, and I'm going to pin them right now, two of them, because I'm going to stitch, use one for lining and one for fabric, then use my crinoline to sew around my flounce as well. So I'm going to secure all the parts I'm going to sew because this velvet can it wobbles a lot, so if you don't secure with your pin, it might be very difficult for you. So I did the same for the Isiago too. I use the same pattern to cut the Isiago. So after cutting, I have to join the velvet together with the Isiago because I want the Isiago fabric to be at the front, as you can see right there on the dress form. So I'll just join it at 1/2 inch, give it a good press. I'll also pick up the other and do the same. So now after joining, I'll place one on top of it. One will be lining, the other will be fabric. So that is exactly what I'm doing. So I'll quietly secure with my pin all around. Please secure with your pin. Don't stitch without pinning to the end of it, because the velvet fabric can stretch a little bit. So if you don't pin and get the exact length for the lining and the fabric, you might have difficulty when stitching or turning the flounce. So I'll just take my time, as you can see now, and I'm going to run over it with my pin, making sure I secure it before I stitch. So I'll go over to my machine now. I'm going to place my 3 inches crinoline, but later I use 4 inches crinoline, because if you are using 6 inches, you need 4 inches crinoline. So here I placed my hemming gum as well. So I'll flip all the seams to the part of the crinoline and top stitch. As you can see, give it a good press so you can see what I have looking so beautiful and wonderful. So next is to go over to the weaving machine. Make sure you weave before you attach. I have to weave before I attach. So I bring in my dress, spread the seam, place the isiago in between the seam line on the shoulder sleeve part. You can see how I turned it. Start pleating accordingly. So I'll make sure I pleat till I get to the under bust. So once I get to the under bust, this is what I have. So you have to be creative for this part. Honestly, you need to pleat accordingly. Okay, so this is what I got after pleating, and the back piece I pleated up to the armhole too. So this is what I have. So now I'm going to sew the sides of the dress. So make sure you take your round bust measurement, round waist measurement accordingly, and round hip measurement. So I'm done with it. I gave it a good press as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to reduce the lining. So I added 1/2 inch when I was adding my seam allowances. So I'm going to also reduce my lining by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to place my tape accordingly and reduce my lining by 1/2 inch. So the lining will be shorter by 1/2 inch after I'm done reducing. So here you can see I've marked it out and I'm reducing it accordingly. So I'll do that from one end of the zipper to the other end of the zipper judiciously. So after sewing this, you notice that the lining seam line and the fabric seam line are on the same part. So here I'm done reducing. So next is to sew to match the seam lines to be sure they are corresponding. Then they now is corresponding. The next thing I'm going to do is to sew my zipper. So go ahead and sew your zipper the way you love to sew your zipper. So here I'm going to stitch my zipper accordingly. So here I've done that using my perfect inseam finishing method I love to use. So you can use any method that works for you. So next is to turn everything to the wrong side. Make sure I secure the seam lines, lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and then I'm going to stitch with 0.5. So this can be a little bit bulky because of the flounces, but it's something that you can also do. So make sure you pin the seam lines accordingly before you proceed to sewing. So here I'm done tucking it in, and I left a space that I can use to bring out the flounces. So I'll gently bring out the flounces from that space, as you can see. So I've brought it out gently. So after bringing it out, the next thing I'm going to do is to follow the part of the sleeve that is open to close up this part, or you can turn it this other way, as you can see me demonstrating, and stitch as much as you can. So here I'm done, and I've given it a good press, and the dress is ready. So the next we want to do is to go ahead and attach the sleeve on the circumference of the armhole. So this is my sleeve. I've added my seam allowances 1/2 inch all around, and I made notch on the sleeve grain line. I'm turning it with my 2 mesh as well. So here I'll place a right side to right side of the tulle. It's a single tulle anyway, and the velvet. So I've turned it, as you can see. So I also reduced the lining by 1/2 inch. So now I've turned, and I've turned it and given it a good press, shaping the sleeve as well. So I'll go ahead and attach this sleeve to the main dress. So I bring my main dress right now, and I'll open the sleeve armhole, which has my crinoline, and I'll insert my sleeve on the sleeve head first and on the armhole too. So you can see how I'm turning my dress. So this is the easiest way to sew this sleeve if you have a flounce to it, or even if you don't have a flounce, this is the easiest way. Turn the inner part of the sleeve the way I do, and insert the sleeve you have prepared. Pin the sleeve grain line to the sleeve grain line, and pin the armhole sleeve to the armhole of the bodice. Then go ahead and stitch at 0.5 all around. So this might not be very easy when stitching, so make sure you are working with needle 18 inches, okay, because this can be a little bit thick. So your needle has to be a bigger needle to be able to accept this accordingly. So I'm pinning all around to be sure I have the sleeve cover everything on the armhole before I proceed to my stitching. So after pinning right now, I'll just go ahead to the machine and sew at 0.5. So here I'm done stitching the both sleeves, and the dress is very much ready. So I believe this class was helpful to you. Next I'm going to do is to bead this dress. So at the end of the beading, I'll also send you a video on how this dress was beaded. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next class. Bye.